Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Artsbeat Radio and Television. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and today we are going to learn all about WAM Theater's upcoming 2020 season with Talya Kingston. And I've had many people from WAM on here before, but Talya and I are meeting for the very first time. So it's nice to have you with us, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what WAM is doing this year.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm pleased to meet you.
And I understand that WAM has had a really good year last year, and one of the productions called Anne, which is the story of Ann Richards, the Texas governor, actually went off on a national thing to Arena Stage and then to the Dallas Theater Center with Jane Atkinson at part of it. And then isn't there another production coming up?
Yes, there's the WAM production is going to be presented at Laguna Playhouse in California with Kristen Van Ginhoven, our artistic director, is going to be, it's her production. And yes, it'll be going up in June, I believe. No, May.
And Kristen there was another production this last fall, Pipeline, which Kristen is currently directing or just directed.
Kristen didn't direct that, actually. That one is directed by Dawn Simmons out of Boston. And it's a co-production with the Nora Theatre in Cambridge. And so it was presented at the Shakespeare Company in the Berkshires at WAM, as WAM's house, and then now the same production is going to be mounted is currently mounted at Cambridge.
Same cast, same
everything, yeah. It was a hugely successful show, not just for the number of audience members, the number of tickets sold, but also for the community engagement and the conversations that it sparked. And for the WAM portion of the tour, we collaborated with a local anti-racism organization called Bridge and did a lot of community engagement around the play, supporting the work that Bridge was already doing in the community and just opening up conversation.
Now, WAM is founded on, as Kristen has said here a couple of years ago, WAM is founded on a different formula than most theater companies. And part of the idea of WAM is that a certain percentage of the box office receipts get donated back to not-for-profits that provide direct services to women and children.
That's right.
WAM has been successful with that, too. I mean, the company seems to be breaking even every year and still being able to donate.
Yeah, it's a really remarkable model. I was sort of blown away when I joined the company a little over 2 years ago now. Part of what I was attracted to with this idea that we could both create and spark conversation in-house in the theatre and also be able to really connect with organizations that are doing this work on the ground and actually leave money with them to be able to continue their work. Because sometimes in theatre it does feel a little bit like an echo chamber. And WAM felt like one of the few companies really that's really trying to think about activism at every level, including giving money away. And our beneficiaries, we have ongoing relationships with them that continue beyond giving them money, that because they become our volunteers. We have one organization called Soldier On, which is, and we partner with them with their home for female veterans when they return, getting them settled and sorted and back into civilian life. We gave money away to them, I believe 3 years ago now with the show The Last Wife by Kate Hennig. And since then, we've continued a relationship with them. They come and see our shows, they volunteer for us. And then actually this, in a couple of months, we're going to be going to their new space in Pittsfield. They have a brand new house out there. And we're going to be working with them on some ensemble devised work because they've been asking for some creative input too. So there's an ongoing commitment to these organizations. It's just not just a one-off charitable donation. It's really considered a partnership all the way through the production and beyond.
So they're very carefully screened when you decide who you're going to make the donation to.
Yes.
And so you have that opportunity to follow up to make sure that whatever you've donated is well used, and to make sure that there's some kind of return for them getting involved in WAM's programs.
Absolutely. So for the past, I think, 3 years, we've had a beneficiary committee made up of members of our staff, our board, and community members who will put out a call for organizations that might be interested, that somehow connect with the theme of the play. And then they'll go through them. They do site visits, there's applications, and they really talk to them about how they can not just be beneficiaries of the show, but really benefit from the conversations that spark around the show. And so, yeah, very carefully screened, but also it's a big commitment on both sides to ongoing work. Yeah, we're really proud of that.
Yeah, it sets you apart from everybody else. How did you get involved with WAM?
I have a background actually as an academic. When I moved to the area, the Pioneer Valley, I actually live in the Pioneer Valley. I was for a while commuting to Hartford Stage, and then realized that I had young kids and that the work around here is really in academia. So I went back and got my master's and had been working in academia for a long time and enjoying that, but missed the professional world. So as my kids got to be teenagers, I started looking around for a company that would be a good match. And the job came up at WAM, and honestly, I looked through this very extensive job description and felt like every single thing was ticking the boxes of things that I wanted. I wanted a company that really stood by its own mission, that would allow me to take initiative, but also had a very strong base, and that was really strongly connected to its community. That wasn't just lip service, but it was something that they were really trying to work towards. And then the fact that we produce plays by women, it may not seem as revolutionary as it is, but when you look at actually what's being produced in major regional theatres, it's still slim pickings for female playwrights. So that felt good as well, to be in a company that was really trying to highlight female voices on stage.
Now, one of the interesting things to me is the fact that in the Berkshires, the major theater organizations all have women as artistic directors.
That's right.
And in many cases, general managers as well. From Williamstown to Shakespeare and Company to Berkshire Theater, Barrington Stage, and WAM. Mm-hmm. Last year, Hartford Stage, just down the road from us, hired their first female artistic director and managing director. Mm-hmm. And it's considered a landmark. And I guess I took it for granted that women ran all the theater companies around here, and that in Connecticut, having a woman come on board at Hartford Stage is revolutionary. Right. Has the glass ceiling been broken in other areas, or are we just lucky in Western Massachusetts that there's equality on so many levels, or is it changing on the national?
Wow, that's a big question. I think we're lucky. Firstly, I think there's some really strong, powerful female leadership, including obviously Kingston at WAM. And we're very excited about the moves at Hartford Stage. I do think if you look at those women, they're mostly white women, so there are other ceilings to be broken. We're seeing cracks in that. We're seeing some strong, particularly African-American women coming to positions, artistic director positions across the country, but it hasn't happened in this area yet. So I think there's still, we need to take a look at the stories that we're telling on stage, because it does have a reflection on the season, because people do pick plays that somehow speak to their lives. So if you have a white male leadership of a team, you tend to get plays that speak to white men. So we're trying to make sure that it's not just enough that we have women's voices, but we're looking at women of color, we're looking at different representations, making sure that we're telling queer love stories as well as straight love stories, and really making sure to give people a space so they can see their stories reflected on stage. Whether the glass ceiling is being broken, I mean, there are cracks. And that's good,
yeah,
right?
And I think there are more cracks in the glass ceiling of theater than there are certainly in film or television. When I look at who's at the nominees or the winners of the
Right.
Oscars or the Emmys every year, and versus the Tony Awards or the Obies that represent the theater, where there are more diverse voices.
Yes, I mean, I think the theatre community does look at that. I know it also I'm also a lecturer in dramaturgy at University of Massachusetts, and I know that we look very clearly at what stories we're telling and who's telling them, and our seasons try and reflect that, because that has an effect. So yes, the theatre is, but we're able to do experimentation, I think, on a smaller scale than film, where the budget is huge. But there's still some. I mean, when you look at who wins the awards, it's very male dominated on all media.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, you said that that you do dramaturgy at UMass.
Yes.
Explain what that is, because I've had dramaturgs on here before, but I don't think people really know what a dramaturg does.
Yes, yeah, that's common. And so a dramaturg can be a lot of things. Basically, we're interpreters of scripts, and we look at the structure of scripts, the history of scripts. So sometimes some dramaturgs are theatre historians, and we'll do a lot of research for a play. We often write the program notes that you see in the major regional theatres, the lobby displays, that kind of thing. We also take a look, we work a lot on new play development and working with playwrights to help shape their script and make sure their vision is realized on stage, and really being their first audience for a play. There's dramaturgs who specialize in translation and do similar things, but moving from one language to another. I think it's a really exciting area of theatre, because it really is all about interpretation, and it's living in that kind of liminal space, in between space, where you can make decisions and really ask provocative questions about why are we choosing to stage this play here now. That's not a neutral choice. Even if you're doing what you think is a very mainstream neutral play, it never is. It's always giving messages depending on what's happening in the country, what time of year it is, who's in leadership positions. That echoes, and dramaturgs really think about those things and engage both the artists and the audiences in those questions.
How did you personally get into theater? What prompted you to become a dramaturg or a director?
So I'm from England, and I grew up, my mother took me to the theatre a lot growing up, and I was always just enchanted by it. I grew up with a love of musical theatre, like many teenagers do, and I just thought there was this magical world where the lights go down and you could tell stories, but you were sitting with other people. I'm a big reader as well, but reading is a solo act. There's something about the community of theatre that's really powerful and attractive. And I started by training in stage. I knew I wasn't an actor. I have no talent in that regard. And so I started by training in stage management while pursuing an undergraduate degree in history, because I love research. And it wasn't until later, when I started working in professional theatre companies, that I realized that dramaturgy really was what I had been doing all along. I just didn't have a word for it, and I didn't have a sense of what it was. So when I moved, I was living in the West Coast for a while. When I moved to the East Coast, I pursued an MFA in dramaturgy at the University of Massachusetts, and really kind of found my home in that world and community, and all the incredible conversations around plays that happen in the dramaturgy world.
And as an associate director at WAM, you've done dramaturgy and you've directed and all that. So you're really doing multi-tiered work.
Yeah, well, that's one of the nice things about working for a fairly small company, and also a company where our talents are really honored. I think that's part of being a feminist theatre company too. But it's really all hands on deck. We're a tiny team with a huge footprint. And so I get to run our educational programming, which is mostly ensemble devised work, which I love. And we get to work with community members and create something completely new. I get to curate our Fresh Takes play reading series, where we do readings with professional actors and teams of new works by women, and really to try them out for our main stage show.
And that's been a very successful part of WAM, the Fresh Takes It. I went to one, I can't remember what play it is now, but it was at a coffee house in West Stockbridge.
Yes.
There were only 20 people allowed to be there.
Yes.
And it was a very intimate thing. It was like sitting in your living room just watching people read a script.
Yeah, but with phenomenal equity actors that you would see on the main stage of any of those Berkshire theatres. Yeah, the problem with that was it wasn't very cost effective because we were selling out within days of announcing them. So we began last year and the year before to go into bigger and bigger houses with them. And this year we're actually doing something special where we're doing the regional premiere of Larissa Fasthorse, a Native American playwright's play, The Thanksgiving Play, which examines, it's a satire of four educators, woke educators, the white teachers who have decided that they're going to put on a play about to celebrate Native American history as a celebration of Thanksgiving, and it shows all the things that they do wrong, but in a very hilarious and cringy way where you recognize yourself in it. We realized that was a play that first of all would benefit from a little bit of physicality, more than you can usually do behind music stands, and also was going to be hugely popular. So we're actually doing a 3-day run at Shakespeare & Company in November, the week before Thanksgiving, so people will have lots to talk about around the dinner table the following week.
Now, we're going to take a break in a couple of minutes here just to acknowledge our underwriters. But before we do, as we're talking, if people want to learn more about WAM Theater, how do they get the information?
The best thing to do is to go to our website. It's wamtheatre.com.
And it's theater, R-E.
Yes, spelled W-A-M, and then theatre spelled with an R-E at the end, yeah.
.com. So we're going to take a break. We're talking with Talya Kingston from WAM Theater. It's beginning their 11th season. Mm-hmm. And we'll be back more to talk about exactly what's on that 11th season. You're listening to Arts Beat Radio here on 89.5 FM WSKB and Westfield Community Programming Channel 15. Talya Kingston is my guest. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. And we're broadcasting from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy. And we'll be right back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Noble Hospital, a brand new name for a Westfield institution which is improving the health of our community every day with quality and compassion. Noble Hospital and Bay State Health, better together.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Underwriting for community radio is provided by the YMCA of Greater Westfield. Every day, the YMCA strengthens the community through programs and services focused on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. For all the Y's many programs and services, visit us on the web at www.westfieldymca.org. The YMCA, 67 Court Street in downtown Westfield. We're more than a gym. We're a cause.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
We don't need Welcome back, everyone, to Arts Beat Radio. I'm Mark Auerbach. In the studio today with me is Talya Kingston from WAM Theater. We're here to talk about WAM's 2020 season, its 11th, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So we talked a little bit before the break about WAM in general, and there's this play reading series that's coming up called Fresh Takes. What are some of the other things on the agenda this season?
Well, this season, because we're doing the three play of the Thanksgiving play, that is our Fresh Takes season this year. But the other things we're doing. Our main stage show, really our headline show, is a play called Row by Lisa Luma that Kristen Van Ginhoven, our producing artistic director, is going to direct. And it's a huge play for WAM. It's our biggest main stage cast that we've ever done. It's a 12-person ensemble. Wow. Yes, and we're excited because it's giving us a lot of opportunity to cast our incredible local equity actors. And we're nervous because that's a huge amount of money. Yeah. So we're currently working very hard, fundraising and casting and doing a lot of background work. The play is about the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court case that legalized abortion. And we're using it as a way to talk about reproductive health and reproductive justice, but in a way that really allows everybody's opinions in the room. Because one of the things that happens when you open up that subject, it's a very hot button subject, and it's one that WAM hasn't looked at before. It becomes very polarizing very quickly, like a lot of politics in this country. And you people end up arguing from a very emotional, impassioned place, but without a lot of the background knowledge. And the great thing about this play is it tells real stories, but it tells them in a way that people tell them, which is in contradictory ways. Characters will contradict each other on stage, say, that wasn't how it was, this is how it was. So you get a place where dialogue is encouraged. And then we've partnered with a company called Essential Partners that are helping us to frame community dialogue in a way, again, that allows everybody to be present in the room. And also we're going to have a scholar in residence, Dr. Laura Briggs, who's a professor at the University of Massachusetts, who's helping us put it into the context, the breadth of history of reproductive health in this country, so that it's less about this one moment and more about how we allow women access to different health choices in general across time.
It's funny because Barrington Stage down the road from WAM does a winter 10 by 10 new play festival. And one of the plays, and I won't remember its title, was about women making the determination of men's reproductive rights. A little 10-minute skit.
Nice. Where
this man wanted to experience sexuality with somebody, and he had to go before a board, and it was the board of women who made the decisions. And they said, no, you can't. And he's questioning, why can't I determine what I want? It's my body kind of thing. And they said, sorry, you can't. We're in charge type of thing. And I thought at that point, I had known that Roe was going to be on the schedule this year. And I thought, it's not a subject that we see much on stage.
Well, I think there's more and more plays being written about it, partly because there's more and more female playwrights who are being given, as we discussed before, being given a platform in regional theatres. But it's also very polarizing, and I think theatres are afraid of alienating audience members. So, yeah, that is a fear, but I think that we're really doing our best in picking this play, in really trying to use it as a platform to open up dialogue and to give people information so that when they do argue, it's not just from an emotional place, it's from a reasoned and informed place. It's a beautiful play, and it allows for an interaction, like an interweaving interaction with a lot of different cast members on stage who change characters rapidly. So you see people, which is always fun to watch actors shift on stage.
But it's it's important to present current issues like this in the theater, where people are much more receptive to communication and dialogue than it is if it's a television special of the week. The play Roe, Lisa Loomer's a well-known playwright. Has Roe been done before?
Yeah, Roe had a rolling world premiere, I believe it was 4 years ago, where it was at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, Arena Stage, and I can't remember the third one. But it had this rolling world premiere. And then the rights were locked away by Broadway. There was some idea that it was going to go up on Broadway. It never happened, so they were locked away. They've just been released. And you're going to see a lot of productions across the country of this play this season. But we got the local rights, so this is your chance to see it in this area.
Yeah, I mean, because some of the other works you've done by women playwrights like Dominique Morisseau, Pipeline. Dominique Morisseau's been around for a while, but it seems like in the last couple of years, she just burst on the scene doing a variety of stuff. She had a play at TheaterWorks. There was a play, Detroit 67 Hartford Stage, Pipeline with you all, and then she wrote the book for the Temptations musical. And I think she's one, and then... I'm going to forget the name, but Kingston directed. It was called Lauren Gunderson is the other playwright that seems to be making waves right now. Both of whom
Lauren Gunderson's the most produced playwright in the country. Yeah,
and never done a show on Broadway.
Well, so there you see the glass ceiling, right? That there's that there are women who have been produced on Broadway, but very few. So it's like people, and women of color even less. So it's like people will take risks in smaller venues, but as soon as it's like big producers, they want a sure hit, and for them a sure hit means something that's written by a white man and that fits certain criteria. So yeah, you're right. You're not seeing those shows on Broadway yet, but it's coming. I think.
But Lauren Gunderson is being produced all over the country, and
Yes.
I would assume Dominique Morisseau is as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I at least in the area theaters around here, she's a known commodity.
Yeah, she's a brilliant playwright.
So when is Rose in the fall?
Roe is going to be in September, October at Shakespeare and Company's Tina Packer Playhouse. It's a big theatre, and we've got some really exciting design elements involved.
Who's your designer this year?
Juliana, our artistic associate, is going to be a scenic designer. She's designed the majority of Kristin's shows.
Right,
She-
Juliana Howbrook.
Yes.
Yeah, she's been on Artsbeat Radio before.
Oh,
She's
great.
terrific.
Yes, she is. And she and Kristin have a really symbiotic artistic relationship. It's really wonderful to see them work together because you see this vision of a production coming out in three-dimensional form as they're speaking. It's very exciting. But we're looking at a team of all-female designers. Not all of them are 100% confirmed yet, so I can't announce their names right now. But it's an exciting design team, and really it's a play that spans a large swath of time. So we're looking at sound that will like plop you into various different places. It also takes you into the Supreme Court briefly for the actual arguments of Roe v. Wade, and just really looking at using that big space in dynamic ways to make the audience feel like they're part of the action, part of the storytelling.
And the theater at Shakespeare and Company is rather small, so it's not like a huge auditorium. It's a more intimate scale.
Well, we're going to be in the Tina Packer Playhouse, which is a bigger space than the Bernstein, which is where we usually produce. That's where we produced Pipeline. And you're right, that has an intimacy to it. That's where we're going to be producing the stage reading of the Thanksgiving play later in the season. But the Tina Packer is actually quite large. I can't remember how many people it fits offhand, but it has a balcony, and it just allows possibilities for multiple entrance and exits and things to come surrounding the audience. Yeah.
How long will a show like Roe be in rehearsal before it goes on the stage?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say 3 months, but the economic realities of American theater is that mostly we're in rehearsal for about 3.5 weeks, which is pretty tight for a show, a very full 2-act show with 12 people and multiple character shifts and dynamic entrances and exits and design elements. It's what we've become used to in this country, unfortunately, and it's just the economic reality of American theatre.
The people that are cast in Row, they obviously will know months before because they have their lives to plan.
Exactly.
Will they know the script when they walk in the door for the first rehearsal?
Yes. So we're actually auditioning right now. We're in the midst of that process. And they will have the script. Equity rules state that we can't ask them to do a lot of work beforehand because they don't start until their contract starts. But the sort of actors we work with, my experience is that a lot of them will do their own research, their own reading. Certainly they'll have read the script. And they'll arrive with questions for us, which is great.
And it's a 3-week or so rehearsal period for Row. What about for the Thanksgiving play?
Yeah, so the Thanksgiving play is an experiment. It's sort of a hybrid between what you saw with the Fresh Takes play reading series, which was we used to do just like 6 hours of rehearsal, and then they go up and they read from behind music stands. So that allows you a bit of time to sort of familiarize yourself with the script and make some basic choices. This one, we're going to be in rehearsal for 4 days, and then we're going to go up for 3 days of performances. So it will allow us to get away from the music stands. We still will have to have script in hand because that's part of our contract. But it's going to allow some more dynamic moving, possibly some songs and some choreography. Yeah.
But that's a challenge. I mean, 4 days of rehearsal for a staged reading. That's a challenge for everybody concerned.
It is. And when you have really phenomenal actors, which we're blessed with a lot of the time, the Berkshires has this incredible wealth of talent. It's amazing how quickly they can make choices that feel really natural and dynamic on stage. So that's a big help.
Yeah. Are there other programs besides that are happening under WAM's umbrella this year?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. So we're starting in the spring. We're really gearing up to it right now with a project that was really my brainchild for our ensemble program. So our ensemble started 5 years ago as a girls' ensemble that became a teen ensemble. And we take about 10 or 12 people and we create original work over about a period of about 2 weeks with them on a particular activist theme. So we've created things on body image, on the way that society labels people, on dreams, the American dream, and other things. And last year we added in an ensemble called the Elder Ensemble for Women Over 65, and we had an incredible time with them. We're continuing with them this year. And then in addition, this year we're adding 3 new, what we're calling satellite ensembles, to just sort of try out with different demographics who've been asking for this work before. I mentioned briefly that we're going to be working with Soldier On's female veterans on a veterans ensemble. We're also working with Bridges Women to Women group on an immigrant ensemble for women who are new immigrants. They're all Spanish speaking, so we have a translator in the room. And then the final one is a people of color ensemble, really spearheaded by my colleague Leah Russell-Self, who's our producing associate director. And they're going to be, and all of those ensembles are going to be creating around the theme of suffrage and citizenship. Partly because this is an election year, so it's in the ether, and partly because it's 100 years since the 19th Amendment passed, which allowed women the right to vote. But we know that's a difficult benchmark because not all women got the right to vote at that time, and there's been particularly racialized barriers between now and then. So we're going to explore all of that and create a new piece that will tour the Berkshires in early June.
Now, with all this activity going, how many people are in the WAM company?
So we have a core team of 5, most of whom are part-time. But then we have other consultants and artists that we bring on a project basis.
So when you're in, like with Row, that group of 5 now becomes like 30.
Right, exactly.
And with a 10-year track record, can you define at this point where the WAM audience is? Are they just local? Are they coming from the Valley here? Or are they coming from New York State?
Mm-hmm. They're coming from we're really at the border. So they're coming from New York State, they're coming from Pioneer Valley, they're coming from southern Vermont and northern Connecticut. So really that whole loop. I think people in the Berkshires are used to traveling for high quality art. And so we get to draw from all those areas. We have a very loyal core and people who will talk about being part of the WAMily and people who've supported Kingston in this endeavor from the beginning and who feel a real sense of ownership over the company as they should, having been coming for so long. We have an incredible team of volunteers who are part of that group who sort of build off of that and help us get the word out about shows. And then there's a lot of new people. What we realized was there was a huge audience of people of color that came to Pipeline last year who were trying to keep cultivate and make sure that they still feel part of our community as we move into this season. And some of them are going to be part of our People of Color ensemble with Leah. So we're really trying to keep expanding. We're also doing a big expansion into college students as well. We already had a lot of high school students coming to Pipeline. Row feels like it's going to be more of a college show than a high school show.
So in terms of the demographics, it's not an older audience, it's a younger audience. It's all relative. I think that we're slowly trying to diversify into younger and maybe less predominantly white. But that's a lot of work and that takes a lot of trust from both those demographics to be able to want to come to the theatre. The older white audience who are used to going to see shows in the Berkshires will come as long as the art stays good. And we're trying to gain a trust and to also go and see go to community events and other community events that are happening with young people and people of color in the Berkshires, so that it's going both ways. It's not just asking people to come to us, but we're actually collaborating and going to their events too. And it's funny because the Berkshires used to be known as doing theater from Memorial Day till Labor Day, and that was it. And now Barrington Stage has a fall production and something around the holidays, and Berkshire Theater goes till Christmas time and stuff. And WAM is during what would have been known as the off season, but it seems that there's a theater-going public now year-round.
Yeah, I think a lot of our audience is year-round Berkshire residents. And what we do is, because we don't have our own theatre space, we piggyback on that summer season. So we tend to do something in the spring and then something in the fall. So there's still some infrastructure, there's still box office, there's still front of house people and technical people around. But that we're not competing with or trying to, or having a hard time finding space, the theatre space
which is an issue. We're going to take another break here. We're talking about WAM Theatre Company and its 11th season opening soon. Talya Kingston is with us. This is Artsbeat Radio and TV on 89.5 FM WSKB and Westfield Community Programming Channel 15. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we will be right back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at Rockies.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online
at Xfinity.com.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Saturdays were made for polka. Tune in to the Polka Jammer Network starting at 6 a.m. and Polka Hall of Famer Billy Bellina, Breakfast at BB at 8:30.
Community Radio. 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. This is ArtsBeat Radio and TV. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. And today we're talking about WAM Theater in Western Massachusetts with Talya Kingston. It's really great having you on today. And I'm a real fan of WAM's. I've seen a couple of really incredible productions at WAM over the years. One was the Bakelite masterpiece, which I think was my first exposure to WAM. And what I'm really impressed by, and many people talk about, it's not just the material and the plays that WAM is putting out, but a certain percentage of their box office ticket receipts go to nonprofit organizations in and around Western Massachusetts that better the lives of women and children at risk. And they're the only theater company that works on that formula that I'm aware of in our area or possibly nationally. Do other theater companies come to WAM and say, how do you do it?
I was at a theatre conference. I was at the TCG conference last year, the Theatre Communication Groups conference in New York. And I was going to various meetings. There was representatives from regional theatres across the country. And they were saying what they're proud of for their theatre company. So we were encouraged to fill out Post-it notes, which, by the way, WAM loves Post-it notes. We have Post-it notes all over our office.
I've heard that you're keeping the Post-its in business.
Kind of. So we were. I wrote that I was proud that we gave away a percentage of our box office to organizations helping women and girls worldwide, actually. And I handed that in, and when it was read out, because all these things were read out, there was an audible gasp from the audience, because it's really quite revolutionary of an idea, because we're a non-profit theatre, so we're really, all of us, working hand to mouth. No matter how big of a theatre company it looks like from the outside, they're writing grants, the ticket cost, the price doesn't cover the cost of the production, as we all know. And so to actually give away a portion of your box office is very revolutionary. I don't know of any other theatre company doing that. Obviously, there are a lot of theatre companies doing incredible community engagement work and partnerships with local organizations. That's happening in many, many companies. But this actual commitment financially is somewhat unique to WAM. I'm sure there's somebody out there that I'm forgetting about, but I don't know of any.
No, but I mean, people have said, the people that I talk to, that it's a formula that is highly applauded, but just don't see a lot of.
Well, I think people are scared to do it because what we have to be very careful of is making sure that our artists are on board with it, and that we're paying artists the same rate as they would get in any other theatre company in the Berkshires. Because as soon as we start dropping that, then it begins to feel like it should never feel like we're giving money away off the back of our artists. There has to be that kind of equity. So we're very cognizant of where we spend money and who we're giving money to, and make sure that it's mostly going to people and to the people we're employing and to the beneficiaries.
But we should say that the actors that participate are members of Actors Equity, which is a professional union.
Yes.
So they're being paid, I wouldn't say an outstanding rate, but they're being paid a living wage to come and perform.
Well, yeah, they're being paid equity standard. They're paid the same as they would be paid in other theatre companies. and that's really important to us. But it's also important that they know, and we ask them during the auditions what they know about WAM, and a lot of them will come and audition for us. We had people coming from New York and other places to come and audition for us because they'd read our website and they were really on board with what we were doing. And then when we give that check away on the last day of the performance, it's always an incredible moment for WAM. The last show, if you are buying tickets for a WAM show, try and get the last show, because that's when the beneficiary comes on stage at the end, and the actors from the show get to give the check, this big giant check, to the beneficiary. And there's a sense of having lived through a story together, and then allowing that story to permeate the community in a way that's just really refreshing and positive.
Now, you've been with WAM for a while. This particular season that is about to launch, when were those plays picked?
So we start thinking about the next season. We're unusual, by the way, as a theatre company, because we don't go during the academic year. We don't go September to June. We go the calendar year. So we usually announce our season in January, and we go through to December, or November in this case. But we start thinking about the next season around late spring. I'm already reading scripts and getting ideas for next season. And then we start to talk to other theatre companies about co-productions, possible co-productions. We start to talk to agents about whether the rights are available, and start to think about the balance and how thematically they fit together, but also the balance in terms of how many actor contracts we can afford. So this year, because we have a 12-person show, we really couldn't afford to do another big main stage show, because that would have been too many actor contracts.
Yeah. So are scripts being submitted to you all the time for consideration, or do you have your eye on specific playwrights?
We have our eye on specific playwrights. We do try and read what's submitted to us. It's a lot. And we don't, because we're such a small staff, we tend not to have the bandwidth to have a full literary office, much as I'd love to do that all day long. Yeah. So I try and keep my eye on local talent, both acting, design, and writers. Obviously, particularly women or non-binary people, to try and see, well, what are they writing, what's going on. We did produce a local playwright last year. We produced Anne Underland's play, Lady Randy, the world premiere of that, and that felt really good to celebrate a local artist, particularly one we'd had a long relationship with and we admired her work a lot. But it takes a lot of development work to create. For a new play, you need to have the infrastructure in-house to be able to go through drafts of it and really work with the playwright. And we're such a small theatre that at the moment we're really looking at plays that feel like they're already done, and that we can produce and help launch in our area, help launch that voice, that story, that play.
For example, Anne had been performed on Broadway prior to it coming to you. But the one that you premiered last year with the local playwright about Churchill's mother.
Yes.
What happened to that play afterwards? Did it go into rewrites again? Were other productions? Do you have any idea?
I think she's still looking, working with other theatres and looking for another production. I don't think there has been another production yet, but it certainly gave her a chance to see her production fully realised, her play fully realised. It's a play that had, it goes through she described it as a fever dream. Lady Churchill, it's Winston Churchill's mother, on her deathbed, going through her life choices. So it went back and forth. So it's a play that really we had to see, well, how does it actually live on a stage as opposed to just in a reading? And it gave her the opportunity to really see that fully envisaged with incredible design elements. And
did the play change with her involved from the time that you selected the script into the rehearsal process and into the performances?
Yes, a little bit. She had been working on it and developing it for quite some time by the time we took it on. And there were other theatres locally that were interested in it as well, so we weren't the only people, but there were certainly script changes during rehearsal. Not hugely, but yes, script there were.
Do you get a chance to see theatre away from WAM during the, I know you're involved at UMass as well, but do you get a chance to see a lot of theater when you're not at WAM?
Yes, I try to. It's part of my job, and it's part of the joy of my job is that I get to see a lot of local theater, partly so that I can see shop for other actors, like, oh, that actor might be good in our show, or voices. But I just think it's so important to support each other in the work, and just understand what's the national conversation that's going on stages. I just came back, actually. WAM sent me to the Denver Theater Center to their the Colorado New Play Summit, which was remarkable. I saw 7 plays in 3 days, and some really, really incredible plays that have got me thinking about, help to stimulate the conversations that Christine and I are having about what would be on our stage the following year in, what would that be,
2021.
2021, that's right.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, it sounds futuristic, sci-fi.
In terms of your own interests in theater, are there any playwrights or productions that have had an impact on you personally that you say, yeah, this is why I'm in the business?
Yes, I love magical realism on stage. I think there's something about staging a metaphor visually that is really remarkable. So I'm drawn into the work of Tony Kushner and Sarah Ruhl and Dominique Morisseau, and Hansel Jung, and people who are really telling stories. Tennessee Williams. People who are really telling stories that you can find yourself in. You can find yourself in that world, and it feels like it could be a world that you would see outside, but there's a leap of imagination. There's a theatricality to it. And when you see a play that's that good, it's transformative, and it reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I also write my own plays, so I try.
You do?
Yes.
Have any of your plays been performed around here?
So I'm part of the Northampton Playwrights Lab, and we do a festival every other year called Play by Play, and my play has been read there, and and I'm just at the beginning stages of that, but I'm also in those kind of magical realist leaps are things I try and take in my own writing too.
That's incredible. So any chance that WAM will do a play by yours at some point?
I mean, never say never. I'm not sure. We don't have any plans for it, but maybe at some point.
And so people know, all the performances are at the Shakespeare and Company campus in Lenox.
This year, yes.
This year. But you performed at Berkshire Theater at the Unicorn before,
Right.
and other venues.
Yeah, and actually I should say that our two Row and Thanksgiving play are both at Shakespeare and Company. The Suffrage Project is actually going to be a little tour, and we're going to start at the Foundry in West Stockbridge, which is a beautiful performance space where we're actually going to be rehearsing and devising beforehand. We'll be in residence there. Then we're going to Berkshire Museum, to their theatre, and performing there for 2 days. And then we're going to finish up at the Mount in Lenox. So even with our other work, we are in other spaces. We need the infrastructure of a full theatre for our main stage shows. And we've found a great partnership with Shakespeare and Company.
And I guess in previous years, maybe it's this year as well, there's always like a benefit in the summertime, like at a vineyard or someplace cool. Yeah. Is that happening this year?
It's not this year. What we're going to do is have a benefit, a little bit of a higher ticket price event at Berkshire Museum as the opening of the Suffrage Project, the official opening, where folks can buy a slightly higher ticket price and have a little bit of an exclusive party beforehand. We're not going to have a full gala just because of some staff changes this year, but I'm sure it'll come back.
Good,
galas are a big deal at the Berkshires.
Yeah, the Berkshire, the whole summer is one gala after another for something. So before we go, all the information about the shows is available at your website.
That's right. It's whamtheatre.com.
And it's Theatre RE.
Theatre RE, thank you.
Where's WAM's physical location?
So we have an office in downtown Lenox, which people are welcome to come by and say hi. It's above Bistro Zinc, right in downtown Lenox. And that's where we are every day doing our work. But then our community work and our educational work and our shows are really all over the Berkshires.
Are there any thoughts about expanding into the Pioneer Valley?
Well, yeah, maybe. I think that we're certainly getting more of a pull from Pioneer Valley audiences. We have a bunch of interns this year coming from University of Massachusetts, partly because of my connection there. But I'm excited about that. And we actually gave a couple of young actors their start out of their coming out of the acting program. And more and more audience members, I think, are coming from the Pioneer Valley.
Well, it's 45 minutes up the road. I don't know. You commute back and forth, so you know it's about 45 minutes from Northampton, maybe an hour.
Yeah. And it's very pretty, and it's not bad traffic or anything.
Well, it's very pretty now that there's no snow. There are days when I certainly don't want to be traipsing up there in the heart of winter. But anyway, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's always good to know what WAM is doing.
Really appreciate it.
We've been talking with Talya Kingston from WAM Theater, whamtheater.com, theater with an R-E. And we're going to leave you today. Stephen Sondheim's 90th birthday was on March 22nd, and we did an entire ArtsBeat radio program last week about Sondheim. But he had a musical called The Frogs, which was based on Greek mythology, which premiered in the swimming pool at Yale University. And the opening sequence taught people how to behave at the theater. So we're going to end with that invocation to the theater gods from Stephen Sondheim's The Frogs. We'll see you next week on another edition of ArtsBeat Radio.
Gods of the theater, smile on us. You who sit up there stern in judgment, smile on us. You who look down on actors, and who doesn't, bless this yearly festival and smile on us. We offer you song and dance. We offer you rites and revels. We offer you grace and beauty. Smile on us for this while. Gods of the theater, smile on us. You who sit out there stern in judgment, smile on us. We offer you song and dance. We offer you rites and revels. We offer you gods and heroes. We offer you jokes and insults. We offer you pains and pageants, bacchanals and social comment. Bless our play and smile. Yes, but first, some do's and don'ts. Mostly don'ts. Please, don't cough. It tends to throw the actors off. Have some respect for Aristophanes, and please, don't cough. Don't say what to every line you think you haven't got. And if you're in a snit because you've missed the plot, of which I must admit there's not an awful lot, still don't say what. If you see flaws, please don't drop your jaws, please. No loud guffaws, please. When actors enter late. When there's a pause, please. Lots of applause, please. And we'd appreciate you turning off your cell phones while we wait. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I think it's you. Hello? This really isn't a good time. I said, this really isn't... Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Don't go, oh, each time you see an actor that you know. And if you have to use the lounge below, don't wait until we're halfway through the show, especially if you're sitting in the middle of a row. No smokes. No chow. Unwrap the candy wrappers now. When we are waxing humorous, please don't wane. The jokes are obscure but numerous. We'll explain. When we are waxing serious, try not to laugh. It starts when we get imperious, and if you're in doubt, don't query us. We'll signal you when we're serious. It's in the second half. Do not intrude, please, when someone's nude, please. She's there for mood, please, and mustn't be embraced. If we are crude, please, don't come unglued, please. Let's not be too straight-laced. The author's reputation wasn't based on taste. So please, don't fart. There's very little air and this is art. And if you feel offended, don't lose heart. That's what the man intended. He was smart. When everything's upended, we can all depart. And now, but first, we start.